The CNBC app. Global market news in one place. Customizable sections and personalized alerts. Stocks tracking, interactive charts and market insights all in your hands. Stay connected. Stay informed. Download the CNBC app today.
Warm welcome to Squawk Box. I'm Steve Sedgwick. These are your headlines. Chinese stocks closing higher amid reports of a record issuance of special Treasury bonds as Beijing looks for fresh ways to stimulate the economy ahead of Trump's return to the White House. President Biden launching a fresh investigation into Chinese chips, opening a probe into legacy semiconductor supply and the latest salvo against Beijing's trade practices. Honda shares 12.2% higher, Mitsubishi 7% higher, Nissan 6% higher, on track, certainly Honda is anyway, for its best day in over 16 years as it launches a $7 billion share buyback and confirms merger talks with rival Nissan. We're going to speak to the former Renault boss Carlos Ghosn in a few moments' time. And the French Prime Minister François Bayrou unveiling his cabinet, picking the head of state-backed financial group Caisse des Dépôts Éric Lombard as his finance minister. Well, you may be forgiven for thinking there's nothing going on today. There is enormous. This is the busiest end of year I've ever known. And not just because there's a presidential handover going on, but because there's all kinds of things from Novo Nordisk to Nvidia to stories about what the Fed's going to do next, concerns about the bond market, concerns about what's going on in Japanese automakers. There is so much going on. I think we're going to actually kick off 2025 in extraordinary fashion as well. European bourses, there are a few closed. Our dear friends in Germany and Italy decided to take a well-earned break this morning, as they do on Christmas Eve. These indices you can see on the screen, the FTSE, the CAC, the AEX and the IBEX, are all trading in similar fashion, really, between 0.25% and 0.4% higher across the board. Half day, pretty much. Stock markets in Germany and Italy closed. Rest of Europe and here in the UK will be... I still like to think of UK and Europe somehow. I don't know. In some ways, not getting political about it, but we're kind of European, aren't we? Anyway, we're half day of trading. Across the Atlantic, the US will also have a shortened session. Right, let's move on. Honda shares on track for their best day in more than 16 years after the Japanese automaker announced a 1.1 trillion yen share buyback and confirmed it's begun merger talks with the rival Nissan. Two companies together would create the world's third largest car maker by sales, with Honda CEO Toshiro Mibe saying the deal would create synergies and economies of scale. I think one of the most influential people in the auto industry this century, and in some ways controversial as well, let's be brutally honest about it, we can address that as well, is Carlos Ghosn. He is the former chairman and CEO of Renault, Nissan and Mitsubishi Alliance, and he joins us now from Beirut. Carlos, you and I have spoken many times over the years, and there are so many issues I want to raise with you today. So thank you very much indeed for joining us on Christmas Eve as well. Let me start off by giving a bit of history. I spoke to you a lot 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. We spoke a lot in those days about new launches, about the Leaf, about the Zoe group. These were pioneering vehicles in terms of electric vehicles going mainstream. It's cool. I think we even talked about who killed the Chevy Bolt and all those kind of conversations. But Europe had an opportunity. Western automakers had an opportunity. In the 11 years since 2013, when the halcyon days of the launch of those products, has Europe and the US lost dramatically already the race for the next generation of vehicles?
Yeah, partly yes, because on EV, for example, which is today one of the major growing technology, only Tesla took it really seriously. And in fact, it opened an opportunity for China and the Chinese automaker to establish themselves globally. As you know, today they are the largest maker of EVs. They became the first exporter of cars in the world, surpassing Japan and surpassing Germany. Yes, without any doubt, there was a lost opportunity with EV. And there may be other lost opportunity when it comes to technology inside the car.
So we've established that there's a lost opportunity. I think all our viewers can agree with that as well. And as you quite rightly say, only Tesla really picked up the mantle before there was a government-led initiative as well, before governments decided they wanted more EVs on the road as well. Let me just go straight to the next important question. Is that EV leadership, is it achievable that it can be wrested back from the Chinese?
Well, it's going to be tough. Obviously, everything is possible in the market. It's a very competitive market. It's based on functionality, based on technology, based on cost competitiveness. The Chinese established themselves because most of the automakers were taken off guard. But competition is still going on. Yes, you can take back the mantle, but it's going to require a lot of focus on this technology and a lot of efforts.
So when I look at these amazing historic brands, of which you know far better than I do about these brands as well, the great European automakers, whether they be German, whether they be French, whether they be originally British based, the US titans, the Fords and GMs of this world as well. If they can't compete on technology and they can't compete on price and they can't compete on global reach, because the global south doesn't want to hear about US or European protectionism as well, what hope is there for these extraordinary legacy industrial OEMs?
Well, you know that tariffs and protectionism protect you for a while. It cannot be an ongoing issue. It can, it's very effective whenever it allows your national makers to catch up whenever they are late. But it cannot protect you forever, because there is a reality on the market based on the attractiveness of the car, on the price of the car, on the availability of the car, on the advance of the technology. And this will prevail at a moment or another. So if protectionism give you time to catch up, it's fine. If it just allow you to relax a little bit, I think a major drama is going to happen.
When I look at what the negotiations between IG Metall and the owners over at Volkswagen, the Porsche and Piëch families as well, I can't see necessarily that they're buying themselves time to take a technological leap. I think they're buying themselves time to cut more costs, possibly, as we're seeing with Honda, put in more buybacks. Well, that doesn't sound to me like they're going to seize the moment and grab the technological initiative and go a leapfrog ahead of the Chinese, though.
Yeah, well, exactly. That means if you decide to take solutions that alleviate you on the short term and pushing your problems to the long term, the consequences on the longer term are going to be very bad. But this is a temptation that many companies have, to try to alleviate themselves on the short term and try to say, well, this is going to be for another generation of leaders coming after us. I frankly think that the threat represented by the Chinese makers globally is a real one. These companies are very serious. They are very competitive. They learned a lot from their partners, which are all the automakers who have been to China through the joint venture. And now they're ready to compete by themselves. They learned the lessons, and they are basing this on an eagerness to play a major role into this industry.
I'm sure President Trump-elect doesn't want to hear this, but arguably the most important man in America at the moment is Elon Musk as well. You've already eulogized earlier on about how only Tesla sees the initiative as well. Do you believe that Tesla, despite its extraordinary valuations and quite eye-watering valuations, actually is the great hope for Western automakers?
Well, certainly for the North American, yes, it's hope. I think what you can say about Tesla, and particularly about Elon Musk, is has been extremely focused on EV. He then added to it a lot of technology in terms of connectivity, in terms of autonomous car. And he, no matter what are the problems, he's pursuing. And this is the right strategy to follow. Unfortunately, not a lot of other car makers in the West, except maybe some of the specialists in Germany, like Mercedes from one side or Audi from the other side, or Porsche, which are following. But frankly, for the generalist, they must be very worried about what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years.
Carlos, I've seen some commentary already from you about Honda and Nissan being in panic mode as well. Do they have someone in their management teams that you can see that actually can act as an Elon Musk type figure, save costs, drive innovation, drive technology? Or actually is the Honda, Nissan, Mitsubishi amalgam destined to fail?
Well, I can tell you, what I can tell you, because I know obviously all the executives of Nissan and Mitsubishi, I don't think there is anybody today in Nissan Mitsubishi to take this mantle. I don't know about Honda. I cannot tell you about Honda. But if there was somebody with these attributes, we would have known already about it. I'm not saying he doesn't exist, but we don't know we don't know about him. Now, is this going to fail? When I look at the deal, the way it has been related by the parties in charge, it looks like a kind of Nissan is in panic mode, looking for somebody to save them from this situation because they are unable to generate the solution by themselves. Honda is coming, obviously dominating whatever partnership is going to come out of it. And by the way, this is not done because they said it is conditioned by the fact that the turnaround of Nissan, which has been announced, is successful. And I have high doubts about this. So first, it's not done. And if it's done, it's going to be tough. And third, I think without any doubt, Honda is going to be in the driver's seat, which is very sad to see after having, led the Nissan for 19 years, brought Nissan to the forefront of the industry, to see that, they're going to be the victim of a carnage because there is total duplication between Nissan and Honda. There is practically no complementarity here, which means if they want to make synergy, it's going to be through mainly cost reduction, duplication of plant, duplication of technology, and we know exactly who's going to pay the price of it. It's going to be the minor partner, and it's going to be Nissan.
Carlos, you and I both lived through a period in the United States, especially, where they had a Japan phobia because Japan was buying everything in sight, whether it be Colombia, whether it be golf, whether it be real estate, you name it as well. Are we now at the polar opposite of that extraordinary ascendancy for Japan Inc. as well? And actually an enormous crisis is engulfing Japan Inc. on the way it does business and the way it's structured.
Look, we should not underestimate the strengths of the Japanese industry. I never underestimate them. That maybe in terms of strategy and innovation in strategy, they are average. But in terms of execution, they are still, in my opinion, one of the best in the world. This being said, Japan today has nothing to do with Japan of 20 years ago. And frankly, when it comes to the car industry, I've been being shocked by the lack of creativity, the lack of audacity when it comes to really put together the car of the future. It's always the same solution. And on top of this, you know very well that Nissan was successful in its alliance with Renault up to 2018. Then when the plot happened in 2018, they said the alliance is going to continue, it's going to be successful. As you know, this was frankly all bullshit because nothing happened. They are not cooperating together. So why an alliance which didn't work with Renault, which full of complementarity between the two companies, is going to work with Honda with total duplication? And last thing I would like to tell you that when you get into the management culture of Japan, when I took control of Mitsubishi in 2016, the top management of Mitsubishi didn't care about working with Renault. They felt very well about it. But they were very afraid about cooperating with Nissan because they said, well, we don't have a very long experience of a good, open relationship between two competing companies on the Japanese market. So I think there's going to be a lot of trouble. This is going to be very tough.
Carlos, this is all set against the world where you've got an incoming president who is threatening tariffs against European automakers and Europe more generally, tariffs against Japan and Japan corporates and the economy more generally as well. Is Trump a good thing because he's shaking up the global economy, or a bad thing because tariffs never work in the long term?
Look, we are at the beginning of this presidency. Obviously, he's laying out all the things that he can use in order to bring people to the table to negotiate. It's going to be very interesting to see what will end up being implemented after the negotiation take place. But anyway, this negotiation is going to be very good because when it's done, whatever the tariff will be implemented or not, because of the concession made by the other party, is going to see if this is going to lead to a much better and balanced relationship between the different countries. So I'm not so worried about it. Because I want to see the end of the movie. For the moment, we're just at the beginning of it.
Yeah, we saw the first movie, but the question is it going to be a better sequel or a worse sequel? Is it going to be a Godfather 2? That's the question, which was, of course, unarguably the best sequel ever. Carlos, I'm going to say blatantly something. By the way, I need to apologise for you used a naughty word earlier on, and our viewers don't want to hear that thing, so I'll just apologise on your behalf for our viewers as well. Right, Carlos, you're perhaps the most famous fugitive on the planet. There's probably others, but I can't think of them now as well. How long are you going to be on the run from Japan and France for?
Well, unfortunately, I think I'll never put my feet in Japan again unless they change their hostage justice system. That means Japan is amazing because it has formidable positive things, and it has things which are, frankly, very dark. One of them is their hostage justice system, which is unbelievable. That means if I knew in 1999, before moving to Japan, that something like this happened to a foreign executive in Japan, I would have never taken the job. And it continues. And I think they are conscious on the fact that there is something to be done about the system. If they change their system and amend it and recognize the fact that they have been extremely unfair and they have been organizing plots around a lot of people who have been victim of the system, yes, I will go back to Japan and I will be free again.
But this isn't just a Japan problem, Carlos. I don't know how you're fighting legal whack-a-mole. I really don't, because you've got a situation with France as well. France, I think, has whatever the Brits may think about France sometimes, I think France has an amazing democracy and probably a very fair legal system as well. Why not fight the fight in one of the key countries for you, one of your nationalities in France?
Yeah, well, because for a very simple reason is all the file in France has been transmitted by the Japanese prosecutors. That means if the case is dropped in Japan, there is no more case in France. All the case in France is based on documents, fabricated or authentic, a lot of arguments transmitted by the prosecutor in Japan. Prosecutor in Japan, instead of transmitting the file to the Lebanese authority, because I am in Lebanon, they transmitted to the French authorities because in a certain way they felt that there was some kind of willingness from the French government to be cooperative with Japan. They had in view the alliance. They wanted to safeguard the alliance. But as you know, the alliance is dead. You had an appearance of the alliance for 3 years between Renault and Nissan, but the reality, it was a zombie. It was not working. I think the only place where I can have a fair trial is another country than both of them, because it had been polluted by a made-up case, a very sophisticated way done by the Japanese.
Let me just ask you on this one, final question on this point, Carlos. From a personal point of view, look, neither of us are getting any younger. We've been chatting for 20 years plus as well. Does there come a time where you think, I just can't be, for want of a better word, a fugitive for any longer? I just want a bit more peace in my life.
Yeah, well, you know, I can tell you that means I'm living a good life in Lebanon. I love Lebanon. This is a country, my country of origin. The Lebanese people have been formidable with me. I don't feel that I'm miserable in Lebanon at all. But I am going to fight for my rights, and I'm going to fight to try to right the wrong things that has been done to me until, my last energy. And I hope that I will prevail. And I think I will prevail because the Japanese who have done this know they've done something wrong. And they've made the wrong bet by destroying the alliance when they arrested me in 2018 for the sake of taking back control of Nissan. Yes, they took back control of Nissan. Yes, they threw the French out of the alliance. But they found out with the miserable Nissan in decline and in panic that they are forcing Honda to take care of it today.
Beirut is arguably was one of those magnificent cities on the planet in the 60s. And it was one of those places where you all see these shishi people walking along the coast, and it's just amazing. Beirut has been through so much in our lifetime and so much in the 20th century, and it's been through such devastation, continues to be a pawn for greater powers in the region as well. How is Beirut now? How is Lebanon, Carlos, as well? We've seen enormous events in Gaza, in Israel, in Syria. Just give me a flavour of what it feels like at the moment.
Look, Lebanon is distressed today, and Beirut is distressed. There is no doubt about it. But still, I think the Lebanese people are extremely resilient. They are resilient, and they are ready if there is a little bit of hope and a little bit of stability in the region to build back again. I think Lebanon has a lot of assets. It has a lot of attractiveness. and it can rebuild it again. And Lebanese people inside the country and outside the country, because you know that there are more Lebanese living outside Lebanon than inside the country, are ready whenever trust is brought back to the government of Lebanon to build back their country. And I don't think it's going to take a lot of time. I'm cautiously optimistic about the fact that we can rebuild this country on a very, very sound base, as long as you have a minimum of stabilization and the government that we trust.
Yeah, we all hope and pray for Lebanon's sake. We really do, because it's got magnificent potential. We all know that. Final question, Carlos. France, we've already addressed it slightly and why you don't take the fight there as well. What do you think of what's going on in France at the moment? Macron's made a bit of a mess, perhaps, of going to the country this year as well. We've had 4 prime ministers as well. Can France rediscover its mojo?
Well, look, what's going on in France is very simple. I think France has a huge debt. They have a big deficit, and they cannot continue to increase taxes to solve the problem. But that's one of the most taxed countries in the world today. And somebody has to have the courage to, at the end of the day, reduce and right-size the state and everything that the state is giving to the citizen. I think we are in a situation in which you have a distribution of a lot of benefits, etc., without having the means to pay for them. There is an end for this game, and we are near the end. And today, one of the major problems of France is not to lose its financial situation, because they are unable to address the problem of the debt and the deficit. And this problem has been here for a while. Unfortunately, the present administration, that means the Macron administration, never tackled it. And I don't see that in the last government that was, in fact, that fell, that there was any serious tentative to tackle the problem. That it was, again, more taxes, additional benefits, and this doesn't go anymore. You're not going to solve your problem by adding solution that didn't bring any results in the past. Somebody's going to have the courage to tackle the debt and to tackle the deficit in France. So let's wait to see if the new prime minister will be able to do it.
Carlos, it's been a long time and we've had a great conversation. So, look, thank you so much indeed for joining us. And I've really always enjoyed our conversations and have done again today. And I wish you a very peaceful Christmas and a happy New Year. So good to speak to you.
Thank you for you too. Thank you for you too.
Carlos Ghosn, the former chairman and CEO of Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi Alliance. Well, coming up on the show, actually, I finished that on the French topic because a new year, new government in France. So we're going to take another look at the latest lineup out of Paris. Is it going to break the political deadlock? Well, we'll find out, hopefully. Maybe we'll find out after this break. Welcome back. Nordstrom will become a private company after agreeing to buy a buyout deal, actually, from its founding family and Mexican department store, El Puerto de Liverpool. That's a funny old combo, isn't it? Is that right? El Puerto de Liverpool. Of all the El Puertos you think of, you wouldn't think of Liverpool, would you? Anyway, shall I do that again? I've completely lost track. Nordstrom will become a private company again after the buyout from the department store, El Puerto de Liverpool. The US retailer's board of directors approved the deal unanimously and said it expects it to... it is very exotic, Roger, you're absolutely right. And expects it to close in the first half of next year. El Puerto de Liverpool. From profit warnings to wider restructuring plans, the luxury market had a difficult year. And there will be no doubt a lot of changes as we head into 2025 for all companies, including El Puerto de Liverpool. Anyway, Charlotte Reed took a closer look at what we can expect.
The luxury market faced a reality check this year after a prolonged period of post-pandemic growth. High inflation squeezed aspirational buyers in Europe and North America, and an economic slowdown in the all-important Chinese market weighed on global luxury demand. Industry bellwether LVMH saw weaker performance in some key categories, and others, like Kering and Burberry, issued rare profit warnings as they worked to turn around their star brands. But not all luxury players faced the same challenges. High-end brands such as Hermès and Brunello Cucinelli continued to buck the wider gloomy industry trend, catering to the most affluent customers. So will luxury shine again in 2025, where lower interest rates and renewed stimulus efforts in China could help drive demand? But questions remain. Will aspirational buyers return despite the aggressive price hikes implemented by many brands? The threat of tariffs with the return of Donald Trump to the White House could also impact the Chinese economy. And there are concerns some luxury goods themselves could be the target of new tariffs, as it was the case under the first Trump administration. Fair to say, the luxury recovery is not quite yet in the bag.
Thank you for listening to Squawk Box Europe Express.
For more market-moving news, you can head to cnbc.com.
Or join us again on the show with Steve Sedgwick, Karen Cho, and myself, Arabile Kumete, weekdays on CNBC.